Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. Ours is a place where dreams take flight, voices are heard, and stories are shared. This is where cultures meet, connections are formed, and ideas are transformed into action. This is your destination for authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations. We're where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover our world of education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our USA Global TV channel and download our USA Global TV app. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. With heartfelt thanks to our executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, music scored by Yifei Tang from Cloud Road Music, creative direction by Paul Garcia, and I'm Al Cini, and I'm very proud to be part of the USA Global TV and Radio family. So join us here at USA Global TV and Radio. Make us your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication, or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited. Thank you for being a part of our global community. Let's inspire together.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 6th episode of This is Floxed on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. This show is dedicated to raising awareness for fluoroquinolone toxicity syndrome, also known as being floxed. This means that a person is experiencing adverse effects from a fluoroquinolone antibiotic like Cipro or levofloxacin and many others. For reasons not completely known, when someone is floxed, they seem to acquire additional chronic illnesses when they were completely healthy before. This can be said for many chronic illnesses that have nothing to do with being floxed. It never seems to be just one illness. This is often referred to as complex chronic illness, which is a long-term medical condition that involves multiple organ systems or a single system affected so severely enough to require specialized care and potentially a long period of hospitalization. These illnesses are often challenging to diagnose and manage and significantly impacts a person's quality of life. Examples of complex chronic illnesses include ME/CFS, chronic Lyme, long COVID, being floxed, and many others. Our special guest today is Sibylle Dahrendorf. After being a world traveler and a successful filmmaker, she experienced an unexpected and devastating health decline and became unable to work as of 2017. She no longer has a mobile life and is confined to her own four walls with many complex chronic illnesses. However, being bedbound hasn't stopped Sibylle from making films and advocating for people around the world. She dominates social media, especially on Twitter, or X, in the chronic illness space. In September 2023, she participated in the Millions Missing podcast to draw attention to the devastating topic of chronic complex diseases. In February 2025, the documentary that she co-directed called Chronically Ill, Chronically Ignored aired, and it was the first time that a major broadcasting channel in Germany aired the stories of people living with myalgic encephalomyelitis, also known as ME/CFS. Sibylle is a fierce patient advocate, and like me, sick or not, she never stops. She is passionate about advocating and for making change. She has fought against all odds and is here today to share her story. She's determined, brave, and fierce, and I am honored and proud to call her my friend. So, from Berlin, Germany, we'll bring on Sibylle. And just so the viewers know, the sunglasses is something that most of us that are floxed need to wear because we are very sensitive to light and it bothers our eyes. So with that, welcome, Sibylle.
Welcome, TALIA. Thank you for the great introduction. And I would like to thank you so much having me in your show. And excuse my glasses. And TALIA, you're such a great advocate and fighter while being so sick. And that's really an honor for me to be here today. And excuse my bad English during the next 50 minutes, please.
So to kick off the show, Can you tell us a little bit more about your story and what your current health situation is?
Yes, I try. So my story is a bit complicated. I have to go back to the year 2011. I had severe food poisoning while I was filming a documentary abroad in West Africa. And guess what? With what they treated me? The food poisoning, TALIA.
Yep, fluoroquinolone.
Of course, fluoroquinolones. But I did not know that were fluoroquinolones, and I didn't have any idea what fluoroquinolones mean. So I was treated with them, and the same year, same place in West Africa, while filming for the same documentary, I got very sick with malaria tropica, which is the worst form of malaria. Imagine a mosquito bite can almost kill you. I was close to organ failure. And I was treated again with heavy medications like chemotherapy. But then I recovered. I thought I was not the same person. I lost stamina and I lost concentration and something like that. But I could continue to work. But then, around 2.5 years later, my body was starting falling apart completely with horrific symptoms, countless symptoms, and nobody took me seriously, no doctor. At that time, I did not have any clue what means. So I was unable to work anymore, as you mentioned in your introduction, and I decided to went in a rehab. That was around 2017. And I came out of that rehab unable to work, unable to cook my food by my own, unable to leave my house, unable to how to drive my car, and something like that. Then in 2018, I was diagnosed then with ME/CFS, but I always was convinced that that was not the entire story. I had and still have severe neuropathic pain, so all signs of small fiber neuropathy, by the way, dismissed as depression at that time. I also have POTS, and I have to explain that a little bit. POTS means that you cannot hold any upright position. This is the reason why I'm lying here, because your heart rate is freaking out if you are in a upright position, blood pressure as well, and there are a lot of symptoms as well because of the consequences of POTS. The blood is sinking down to the lower extremities when you are in the upright position. So I'm always in that position. I have pretty loud head noises, so severe that sometimes I think really I'm going crazy. Severe muscle weakness, lax ligaments, so broken connective tissue order. And as we know, you had a show about the topic mast cell activation. That can be a consequence of the mast cell activation syndrome, which I also have. And I have always the feeling I'm completely poisoned, as if poison or shards were flowing through my veins. And to add another diagnosis, I have a confirmed craniocervical instability. So a lot of illnesses running in my body. And I was trying to get help from the conventional medicine in vain. I was dismissed all the time, and I ordered all possible tests by myself. So I did tests for Lyme disease, and I'm Lyme positive with Bartonella. I ordered tests for herpes viruses, for example, how do you pronounce this? Epstein-Barr virus and HV6 positive. I checked my mitochondria function, very low. Long story short, my body is completely wrecked from several hits. I did not have the one and only hit. I had several hits for over a long period of time, and I'm home and bedbound for many years. And to add a thought, so I was thinking about that today in preparation for our conversation. My very best friend from university died because of cancer in 2021. And months before she died, she said to me, quote, Sibylle, I know I'm going to die soon, but I never wouldn't trade places with you. Maybe this is, I don't know, I leave it like this.
Yeah. And I think what she meant was if you have something like cancer, it's believed by the medical system. There's a specific treatment plan. When you are chronically ill like us and doctors don't know what to do, you're SOL. Good luck trying to figure out how to treat yourself, trying to get any doctors to believe you. So that's probably where she was coming from, because I can totally understand.
Yeah, but as well concerning the condition, because she really was one of the very poor, one of the persons who believed me, and she couldn't feel the severity of those complex chronic illnesses. You know, she was 3 months before her death in a better condition than me for years now. That is what she meant.
Before we get into talking about complex chronic illness, because that's going to take us most of the interview, I'm always curious, like, because you're so sick like me, how did you get into advocating and doing all this for others?
Actually, I don't feel like an advocate. But if we touch the topic, so I was never a fan of social media, and I was never on social media before I got so sick. And I decided to go online. That was around autumn 2020 when I got my diagnosis from when I came back from Barcelona. When I got the diagnosis of the craniocervical instability, I decided to go online. And then I was so shocked to meet so many sick people all over the world, regardless of the trigger, if it was infections or fluoroquinolone toxicity or whatever. And then an exchange between those affected began, and I met really a lot of people. I had friendships, and I have still friendships like you, for example. And I found some researchers, and I was studying the research papers like crazy because I wanted to find a solution as well for myself. And then from that point, something created the need for making a documentary about those things, because as a former filmmaker, I felt the need to do or to develop a documentary about this horrific topic. So this is, I think, if you call it advocate, I think that has to do with a film documentary which is called Chronically Ill, Chronically Ignored, that was aired in February this year in Germany. And so I started to say what I think about those illnesses, and I started to write about what I feel about to be abandoned by a healthcare system.
And I feel like, what has made you such a force is that so many people resonate with your story, and unfortunately being abandoned by the medical system, and having these complex chronic illnesses. Could you explain in greater detail what complex chronic illness means?
Yeah, this is an expression by Dr. David Kaufman and Dr. Ilan Ruhoi, by the way, both in the US, not in Germany. A while ago, I discovered a podcast which they're doing. They started on Patreon, but they are now on YouTube, so it's free for everybody. And I was listening to their talks and thinking, wow, that's exactly me, because they developed a model, this kind of model, which is called the septat, for better understanding ME/CFS, Lyme disease, or long COVID, all those complex illnesses. And the septat includes, for example, autoimmunity, POTS, postural tachycardia syndrome, MCAS, so muscle activation, EDS, so Ehlers-Danlos syndromes, which are syndromes where the connective tissue is damaged, or So to summarize it that way, so everything that has to do with connective tissue disorder, including craniocervical instability. Then the modal subtype includes small fiber neuropathy, SIBO, so everything that has to do with the gut, leaky gut, and so on, and of course, infections. But you can expand the model to fluoroquinolone toxicity, to chemicals, as well to I think I would like to mention also vaccination injury because it's important, but was important already before the pandemic. And the model is for me personally important because I fulfill every point of that model. And I really understood, I was beginning to understand the interconnection of those complex chronic illnesses, like a puzzle. I don't know how to say that. And Dr. David Kaufman often uses the term background noises as a metaphor for illnesses that actually lead to the severe chronic onset. And I had background noises before, a long time before. I understood that I had or have had MCAS issues for my entire life. I had already spine issues before I became so chronically ill. I had so much infections in my life, always treated with antibiotics and so on and so on. So, and this is more or less in short, the idea of complex chronic illnesses and the septet. Or you can imagine a glass of water. If you have a glass of water, it's half full, and then a hit comes, and then another hit comes, then a fluoroquinolone comes, then a COVID infection or whatever. At one time, the hit how to overflow, so the water overflows, and so that was in my case. My body collapsed at what point. And what I find, to add one more point, what I find or found very interesting after the documentary Chronically Ignored was aired, a lot of people reached out to me and wrote me messages, as well on COVID sufferers, and they wrote me that they also were also treated with, guess what?
Fluoroquinolones.
Fluoroquinolones. So this is the reason why I'm thinking there's always several players in your body, and there's almost, I don't know. I mean, I do not have any statistics, but I'm convinced that there are a lot of players in your body making you so sick.
Yeah, so for the viewers that are watching, especially those that experiencing fluoroquinolone toxicity, I think, a lot of times we talk about the trifecta that we get when we're floxed, right? I feel like everyone that's floxed, they have Lyme, they have mold, and usually they end up getting mast cell. And if you think about some of the other things that Sibylle mentioned, think about someone that has EDS, then they have POTS, right? And then they have MCAS too. Like, it's never just one illness. And it's because, just like Sibylle said, we have a cup and it's filled to a certain amount, and hit after hit after hit, it eventually overflows. But it's not just it, it's also the long-term effects of being sick and never being able to heal that can further breaks your body down. I know in my case, when I got floxed, I don't know how full my cup was. I just know that I was very healthy. So maybe my cup was like this. But what happened after in the medical system, I got hit after hit after hit in a very short time, not over a long time. And that's what blew me up, right? Between MRIs and CAT scans and this medication and NSAIDs and something else in the IV, that I just spiraled out of control within 5 months. So whether it's hits over a long time or hits over a short period of time, eventually our body just waves the white flag. It can't do it anymore. It doesn't have the resources to try to heal. It's always going to try to heal, but it's struggling to do that, right? For me, and for many people watching this, I know that have mast cell, when you don't have the proper nutrients or nutrition that really puts you behind in any kind of recovery. So it really is a struggle. And you have the physical aspect that Sibylle is talking about. And then you have this emotional aspect of you're sick. When I first got sick, I felt like an alien. Like I was the only one on this planet that had this strange thing. There must have been something wrong with me until I found this community and saw that there were thousands and thousands of people that were also floxed. So you're sick, you're struggling to survive, and then you're trying to get people to pay attention to you and believe you. So, my next question to you, Sibylle, would be, can you talk a little about the lack of healthcare coordination that we receive and the lack of treatments? Because I think that also continues us in this journey of chronic illness. It just continues to perpetuate it.
The lack of healthcare is a very important topic and very depressing topic, because most of the people, which I know, including myself, are gaslit through or by their doctors, by healthcare system, by whatever, and their doctors simply do not believe their patients. And this is for me huge scandal, because a lot of people, very sick people, bedbound, homebound, even people that cannot talk anymore. I mean, we can talk, yeah, but there are so many sick people that cannot talk anymore. They have really to lie in the dark like these 24 hours. And the doctors simply do not believe them, or they say, oh, you can go to work while you are lying in bed. So this is a huge medical scandal for me, regardless the trigger that is valid for infection onset, for fluoroquinolone onset, for everything, including craniocervical instability, POTS, and all those things we mentioned before. And I had the same experience in my cruel condition, which I have to endure. I needed years to find doctors who believe me, and this is a really hard and dark place to try to convince yourself, oh, I have to survive because I'm really sick. I have several organic illnesses and my doctors do not believe me. What can I do? Because you cannot go out. I cannot leave my apartment anymore to visit or to have a doctor's visit and to have a conversation with the doctor. So I have to do everything by my own. And this is really a traumatizing experience. And when I talk to other very sick people, chronically sick people, where if it's ME or Lyme as well, fluoroquinolone toxicity, all those things, they really are talking about the same thing. So much people are traumatizing by our healthcare systems worldwide because there's so much disbelief and no help and no prospect of therapies, no perspective. And this has a political dimension, is my opinion. This is a very political topic.
Yeah, I agree. And you just touched upon the next question about the physical strain that this takes, psychological strain that this takes on a person. I loved one of the things that Dr. Pipa said in my interview with him was, it's like we're part of the leper colony and we're these outcasts, and it's a really tough place to be where nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is coming to help you. You have to do it yourself on top of being sick. It's extremely traumatic. And so in a lot of my videos, I often talk about or ask the question, which is worse, the physical trauma or the emotional? I don't know. They're both pretty significant. But is there anything else that you want to add about the psychological toll that this takes on a person?
Yeah, it's a heavy burden. I mean, I would lie, or I would lying if I said, no, nothing of that. Disbelief by doctors didn't take a toll on my soul. So, I mean, I'm completely another person than I was before. I lost everything like so many others. I lost my job. I lost my friends. I lost everything what life makes worth living. And then you are confronted, it's the right word, I don't know, with a disbelief by doctors. So this is really a hard place to be. And but what makes that worse is even you cannot talk about that topic with the doctor, because then your doctor would say, you have a depression, oh god, another again depression diagnosis, and so on. And this is like a vicious circle. I don't know how to call it, but it's very difficult to find doctors. I mean, you mentioned Stefan Pieper. He's an exception in Germany and a great doctor, and he's really caring for his patients a lot and with passion as well. But imagine I'm in Berlin, the capital of Germany, one of the richest country in the world, and I do not have proper medical care. I do not have doctors who believe me. I do not have doctors who know what mast cell activation is. I do not have doctors who really understand what postural tachycardia syndrome means or what small fiber neuropathy means. So, and the list goes on and on. So this is a very dark place. But concerning the psychiatric symptoms, there's another important thing, I guess. Those illnesses, so the example of mast cell activation, can cause psychiatric symptoms. And this is another important point, because doctors simply, do not understand this, that organic illnesses, brain inflammation in the body or whatever, can produce psychiatric symptoms. And that's really as well an important point.
So there's a couple things I just want to add about this before we move on to the next question. Is the first thing, for any viewers that are watching this that are not chronically ill, the reason why we are so frustrated, upset, angry with these psychological diagnoses is a couple of things. The first reason is that when we are given these psychological diagnoses, we're never tested for any psychological diagnoses. We're going there for a physical ailment, and then we're told that we're psychologically ill. Well, what test did you even do to make that distinction, right? So that's the first thing that's really frustrating. And the second thing is that if you ever get that written on your medical records, and this is critical, you get that written on your records, the next time you go to a doctor or someplace so they don't know you, as soon as they see a psychological diagnosis, it's over. You're written off and nobody takes you seriously. And so I just want to throw this out, and from my perspective, is that's why I fought so hard, and I hope the viewers watching that are able to do it, or their families are able to do it for them, is to fight against that psychological diagnosis or that psychological stuff written in your records if it's not true, because then we end up in this place where no matter what we do, no matter where we go, we're never taken seriously. They see the records, psychiatrist, psychologist. Yeah. And it's
you're so right. And let me add something. For example, ME has an ICD code since 1969. So how many decades? So almost six decades. Chronically ill people with ME are disbelieved by the doctors because there's simply no awareness by the healthcare system. There's simply no awareness, I don't know why the doctors are refusing to learn more stuff about so-called multisystemic illnesses, because they affect the entire body. It's not only the arm, it's not only the brain, it's not only the food, whatever. It's the entire body who's completely collapsing. And I went to my endocrinologist. Oh God, I don't know how to pronounce that.
Endocrinologist, you're good.
Yes, that's it. I learned it in 2018 when I came back from my rehab, and I couldn't walk anymore, and I couldn't climb the stairs anymore. And I said to him, I cannot walk anymore. I cannot climb the stairs anymore, and so on. And he replied, I don't believe you. If a fire broke out now here, you'd be out very quickly, believe me. That was his comment, and he diagnosed me again with depression.
This is exactly what I mean. If there's a fire broken out, my legs are not going to work. They don't work.
No.
So, I mean, it's just, it's ignorance, really. You made a statement on your website. We talked about this the other day. It really hit home for me because, you know, the way I explained it to you was that I thought when I got off of hospice, if I ever made it off of hospice, that it was going to be smooth sailing for me. It's not smooth sailing, but I was going to make a recovery because I wasn't on hospice anymore. And that didn't happen. I forgot that I'm still Floxed and I still have mast cell and all these other illnesses. And so when I say that this is my second chance at life, it's a life like this, right? So in your website, you said you can lose your life without dying, which makes me very emotional. Can you elaborate on that statement?
Yeah, because it is like this. You can lose your life without dying. This is an expression or sentence a lot of those affected with ME are using, or with any other complex chronic illnesses, because it's like this. You are vegetating at home and like buried alive, you know. You lost everything, or I lost everything. As I said, everything what life makes worth a living, everything is gone, stolen, so to speak. And you are abandoned by the healthcare system. You are abandoned maybe by your neighbors. You're abandoned by your family members, for example. You are abandoned by, I don't know, we in German say Gott und die Welt. I mean, God and the world, you know. And this is buried alive, and this is, you can use a life without dying. But to add an important point, you can die from those illnesses themselves. This is a very important point. And I know we had as well a case in our documentary. She died with 27 from ME. And then there are a lot of people who are and that's a very, very cool topic. They have to go the route via assisted suicide because they cannot endure the pain and the symptoms, the place where they are, and because there is no help from the healthcare system. So there are a lot of people who are dying, in fact, from those illnesses. So plural, complex chronic illnesses. But as well, you can lose your life without dying. And just let me add one thought, because there was English, so German translating English in my brain. There was an article published recently in Austria, assisted suicide instead of care levels. I don't know if care level though is the right expression in English. That was a headline of an article in Austria, and it's true, because it's easier to get the request for an assisted suicide than to find a doctor who's helping you to survive, and to obtain an adequate health care level from the healthcare system. And this is as well a huge scandal. So, I mean, you can die from those illnesses, but you can lose your life without dying as well.
Yeah, I mean, that what you just said is just, it's mind-blowing. Sure, we'll help you with ending your life, but not with trying to fix your chronic illnesses. I mean, like you said, that seems a little scandalous. Actually, it seems criminal to me, honestly.
Yeah, it is. Of course, it is criminal. For me, it's a huge, it's a failure of the healthcare system. It's criminal. There are so many scandals. Even look at the scandal of the fluoroquinolones. That alone is a huge scandal. Look at the scandal of the neglected ME and now long COVID sufferers, and as well the post-vax sufferers. This is the next scandal. So there is not only complex chronic illnesses, interconnection. There are also interconnections of so many scandals we are vegetating in. And that's so hard because we cannot go out into the streets and to demonstrate and to say, hey, stop it. Yeah, we want care, we want treatments, we want whatever. We want a better care for us, because most of the people are so sick they cannot go outside anymore. And this is really a tragedy. It's really, as you said, it's a crime. So
Yeah.
I agree completely.
Yeah, and I think, leading into our next question, I just want to say that, we're here talking about Sibylle's story, which I know resonates with thousands, millions of people watching this that are chronically ill. I know just from doing research, you can do a simple Google search, that there are more people that are chronically ill now than any other time in history. Yeah. How? In 2025, when we have supposedly the best medical system and the best healthcare advances. And, there are camps of people that say, they make more money off of us being sick. There are camps of people that say they simply don't care. They don't put any funding into researching these things to help make us better. We know that the medical system is broken. We know that the curriculum is broken in and of itself for practitioners. They're taught like, the little box, and this is what they learn inside the box. Anything outside the box, it's psychological, right? But, the point of this show today, in this interview, is to discuss these things, to bring them to light. And then my next question for Sibylle is, what is the call to action here? What do we need to get seen and heard?
Yeah. Just let me add one thought to your what you was talking about. Our former healthcare minister, Karl Lauterbach, said recently in a huge weekly paper, that the state is failing, or state failure is the correct translation concerning MECFS and non-COVID, because since the pandemic, as you mentioned, the chronically ill people, we have so many chronically ill people all over the world. How to save them? Yeah. And it's really a failure of the state. But I was wondering why the former healthcare minister was not saying that when he was actually the healthcare minister. Do you know what what I want to say?
Right. He waited till afterwards.
Yes, that's it. And that's not the way we can change our situation and change the very poor or the non-existing care of the chronically ill people. If I'm not responsible anymore for my position, I can cry out loudly whatever I want. But you have to say it in a position while you are taking the responsibility of, for example, minister for research, minister for healthcare, minister for whatever, and not afterwards.
Yeah.
But what was your question?
That's okay. The call to action. So, having people advocate for themselves and stuff like that.
Okay.
What do we want people to take away from this show? Like, even doctors that may want to help us, or other people that are sick, like, how do we get seen and heard?
That's a difficult question, because everyone who can write, or who can still write emails or be on social media, should write emails, and writing on social media whatever about the illnesses they have, about their suffering, about the neglect by the healthcare system, and so on. I think that's the only way we can raise awareness, but this is only in social media, because we cut off of the reality outside of the real life. So other people have to do this for us. So because, as I said before, if I remember it right, we cannot go into the streets and say, or cry out loud. So we really need care now. We really need research now. We really need this and that now. So we have to do it from our beds. And this is what would be my request for everyone who can still do that. Do it on social media and write about your topics and write about what you are demanding for. And I think, for example, we really need urgently a rethink in medicine. So we need also doctors who are really working as allies for us, for example. And we cannot cure complex chronic illnesses with one pill. Really, we need huge research of whatever, and we need more radical demands from politicians as well and doctors for change. Otherwise, we cannot change the situation, because the situation, is like this for decades. Even the pandemic was not able to change something, and that was for me really I could not even have imagined that the pandemic did not change anything about that, because the people are alone, left alone, abandoned, still at home without anything. So everyone can help to draw attention to this tragedy, I guess, but we need really allies from outside. Otherwise, nothing will change.
That's why you'll see often in my platform, I'm always saying, shout it from the rooftops. Everybody,
Yes.
anybody, family, friends. Eventually, someone's going to pay attention, and you just can't stop. And for those of us that aren't able to do it, if you have any loved ones, family, friends, have them do it too. If you can't tell your story, have someone else tell your story. We just got to keep going. It's like the statement, the saying we have here in America, like how does it go? The squeaky wheel gets greased, or something like that.
What is it? Well, what is it? What is it?
The squeaky wheel gets greased. It means that if it's loud enough, they'll get fixed and paid attention to. That squeak.
Okay.
So we just have to be squeaky and annoying, so people will pay attention to us and help fix us. So that's kind of always the thinking that's been behind my platform, that eventually someone's going to pay attention. And like, look at me and my advocacy, just writing a letter to the FDA. I had no idea what ended up to all this. Look, I'm on a show right now. Like, how did that happen?
Yes.
But that's what I mean. You never know when you tell your story and you have people advocate for you where it's going to go. With that, I want to make sure we have time before we close the show. My message of hope. I end every show on a message of hope. I told you that I had a doctor who I really respect that said to me, living a life of chronic illness isn't really living at all. You're just putting one foot in front of the other, trying to survive and make it to the next day. Isn't that the truth? So can you give viewers a message of hope who are suffering from these debilitating chronic illnesses? In other words, how to not give up, how to keep going. How do you not give up? How do you keep going?
I could cry, to be honest. And that's a great quote from your doctor. And it's exactly like this. It's trying to survive minute by minute, second by second, and trying not to give up. It's not really to give up, because at some point you cannot anymore. You cannot endure the pain anymore. You cannot endure all those dismissing things we talked about before and so on. And this is really a dark place we, in quotes, are vegetating in. And it's like a painful labyrinth or something. Our working title for a next film project. This is, for example, something what gives me hope to try to do another documentary, but completely other one, from completely inner view, inside view from those affected. And you, TALIA, I'm so honored, will be part of that. that keeps me alive. So, but it's to do something from my sofa by lying here and vegetating and dying every day. Every day is a new dying, so to speak. But do something. If it's just a drop in the ocean, or write another email to an association of neurology in Germany, which recently published a paper that ME, for example, as well as a psychological condition. So everything, step back, 40 years back, new battle, new email, write this. As long as I can, I will fight. But sometimes I think, how long can I do this? How long can I endure this? Does it make any sense? Can we really change something from our bed, so to speak, or from our sofas? And on the other hand, I think to give it just a little hope, because I do not have hope for my personal situation. My hope is not that huge anymore. But to give a little hope, I never met such strong people who endure such terror for years, even decades, with their illnesses. And they are more resilient than any other persons in the world. I mean, and to work with that resilience, that would be my request, to do, if it's really just a little drop in the ocean, to do something. But I'm really aware that a lot of people cannot do anything anymore because they're lying like this every day, 24/7. So
I think, to your drop in the ocean comment, it reminds me of the glass, right? It keeps overflowing. I
yeah,
think if we have enough of us putting drops in the ocean, we change the ocean in the same way that our glass was changed when we were harmed, right?
yeah.
So it just takes a long time because the ocean is huge. Change takes forever. This is the whole world we're talking about, this having this issue. And I think that we might not see change in our lifetime. I hope that we do. I mean,
I hope so. Yeah,
I've seen some change a little bit along the way. Maybe it's not the change we ultimately want to see, but I think, like we talked about the other day, what people that advocate leave behind is a legacy. And that, when we're not here anymore, there are always going to be people that are going to carry forth what you started. And so if we're not fixing it for our generation, maybe the generation after us will fix it, right? And we think about people that have passed away now, currently, we're fighting for them. We're sharing their stories, just like people will do for us when we're no longer here anymore. Sibylle, it's been an honor to have you on the show. I have so much love and respect for you.
no, same to you, TALIA. So really, I mean, I have so much respect for you. So really, you're really a hero for me. So
we're both today. I'm sitting in my hospital bed. She's laying on her sofa. We'll probably need to be sleeping for the rest of the day. But we care so much about this cause. This is why we're here. And we hope that people can see and feel how much of an issue this is that we need help with.
yeah.
And the world needs to know. And that's why Chronically Ignored came out. That's why Labyrinth will be coming out. We will not stop until we get the recognition that we deserve.
It cannot go on like this. This is so important. Something profound has to change. So
Yeah. So I think the show is about to wrap up. Is there anything you want to say before we go to the end credit stuff?
I thank you so much, TALIA, for doing what you're doing and to bringing awareness as well on the topic of the fluoroquinolone toxicity, because Germany is really behind the moon. They refused the ICD code for fluoroquinolone toxicity or fluoroquinolone. associated disabilities. So you're doing such a great work, and I really appreciate that I'm your guest today. So really, it's an honor for me.
Thank you, Sibylle. It's been an honor, and we'll talk soon. We always do.
We always do. We talk later. Goodbye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USAGlobalTV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.